Hi, everyone. Uh, the live stream says that I'm live. And so I'm just going to be here waiting for a few people to pop in. It's glad to see everyone here. I know a lot of you might end up watching this after it's live. I hope you're all having a great day. And I'm going to admit to being a little bit nervous. This is like the first time I'm soloing a live stream. I've done it with my husband before, but I'm on my own, like totally. But it's just on my computer, on my MacBook. So I think I can do it. Hello, Owl Creek Pattern Company. Happy Friday. It is. I'm so glad it's Friday. Yeah. And so, yeah, I'll just like wait until the clock turns to the 11 o'clock and then I'll start this for real. So I hope you're having a good week. How's it going for you? Uh, yeah, I like to see the clock turn before I jump into everything, and so like I'm like just waiting. Anyway, I am really glad to be here. I'm really glad to see all of you. I decided to start this because I saw 1,000 coming up, and I've been thinking about having a live stream. And I'm like, okay, this is the time. I pulled the trigger. I've started it. Hello, Melissa B. Oh, I'm so glad you're working while you're doing this. Don't worry about that. Just like have fun doing it. I hope this inspires you too, but it's obviously more talky. So yeah, but you know what? Like the numbers were going up. I don't think I've hit 1,000 yet. I'm like 4 away from hitting 1,000 subscribers, but that's okay. It's not going to take much longer than that. And this is a goal I've been working for quite a while. I'm excited for that. I'm trying to make this my full-time income. Uh, and because I get to do what I love doing. And that's not just cleaning house, that's researching and studying and talking to people about it. I love teaching, I love writing. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a little bit. So, yeah, 1,000 subs, and I plan on doing live streams more regularly now. I just had to start doing the first one, and I'm like, okay, I have to do it now. All right. So, some of the questions that everybody has asked me. Can everybody hear me? Just give me a thumbs up if you can. Yes. Okay. Good. Obviously, like someone would tell me, I guess. All right. So, one of the questions asked me I think it was you, Owl Creek Pattern Company. Uh, I don't know your first name. So, is if I am a historian, and the answer to that is yes, I am a historian, and I haven't considered myself a historian for long, and I don't believe you need to do what I've done to be a historian, but uh, I've been a writer for a long time. When I went back to college, or when I went to college originally, I studied biology, and I loved it. But I didn't do very well at it, and I think I know why now. But uh, but I wrote a lot. I even have a couple short stories. I started a novel, and things happened in my life, and suddenly fiction was not something I really wanted to even do anymore. But I still wanted to tell stories, and the stories I found interesting were stories about real people. I'd been reading biographies and histories, and I'm like, I want to be a historian. And then I thought, I have to go back to school for that. I'd taken several classes for writing, but not credit classes. So I went to a program called Pathway that my church puts on that helps people like step back into college or start if they feel very nervous about it. And then I went to Utah Valley University and got my degree, my bachelor's degree there in history and a minor in religious studies. And then I went to the University of Utah and I got my master's degree. Let's see if I can show it to you up here. Yeah, see, there's my master's right there. Barely, barely. And uh, and that was in U.S. history, and I also got a certificate in public history at the same time. And I've been studying and researching things ever since. I was able to do that um, as a research assistant, and I did oral histories, interviewing women who were older, so I could see how they had experienced the 20th century and all of the social changes that happened then, as they, were adults, raised their families, and what all that was like, because there was so much change in the middle and latter half of the 20th century. There's lots of change all the time, right? And we just wanted to get a look at what that was like, especially from conservative voices, which weren't really being heard a lot. So that was my task. That was with the Eileen Clyde 20th Century Women's Legacy Project. I don't know if that's too much information. And then I did an internship at Church Historic Sites for my church, which is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And now I'm here. Uh, so, and I wanted to share with everyone, and I've been thinking about writing a book, and I probably will write a book, but I thought more people might be able to see it if I did videos and podcasts. And then my house was so messy, I couldn't even think. So I started cleaning my house, and then one day I thought to turn the camera on. There's my whole resume, right? Up until starting this channel. Oh, hello from Galloway. Hello, Mary Beth. It's good to see you. Oh, cool. Awesome. That's awesome. Uh, where do you work at? You can tell me that. I'm so glad to meet all of you anyway. Uh, anyway, that's the wrong way to say it. It's like, and next, I'm so glad to meet all of you. And I'm nervous. All right. Uh, so, some questions that other people have asked me. How many people live in my home? And oh, that's awesome. I did that during college. I did a lot of babysitting. I loved babysitting. I was very excited to have my own children too. So, babysitting is wonderful. Children are wonderful. Um, how many people live in my house? There's 5 of us that live in my house right now. There's my husband and I and 3 of our 4 children. One of my children, she lives in LA now. She moved just a few months ago, and boy, that was like a whole big, like, extra experience during my own decluttering to help her take care of her apartment and move. Uh, but the other 3 that live here, um, I have my oldest. She wasn't living at home and she has come back. And I have my next 2 children. And uh, the last 2 children, we know that my third, they have autism. We know they have that diagnosis and they're in their mid 20s. My youngest is just about to turn 20 and we don't have an official diagnosis, but everybody in the family is like, yeah, we think that's going on there. And so that makes for a very interesting family life. and a lot of things to like kind of work around and manage and enjoy each other together and all these different things that happen, right? So 5 people in my home, and as adults, they bring a lot of things into the house. And so that's a challenge that I get to work with too. Uh, and obviously, I live in Utah. I live in South Jordan, Utah, and I have a beautiful view of the mountains um, that I don't dare show you right now because I'd have to walk out of the house. Is there anything else anybody wants to ask me? Hi, Siri. So you wanna and let's see. Did I say your name right? I need my glasses. Um, oh, one interesting thing about my graduate school was that I started in the fall of 2019. I went to a semester and a half on campus and just starting to go do all my oral histories. And then we all know what happened in 2020 in the spring. And so suddenly my graduate school became online, remote, which was not how I'd planned it. But it turned out to be pretty interesting. And I turned out to be doing other oral histories about how people were reacting to COVID. So, hey, Vladimir Chopin there said, have fun. That's my husband. So, hi, hun. Nice to see you there. Yeah, so that's 5 people in my house in Utah. I am a historian. I'm a writer. I um, I don't know if there's anything else. I'm cleaning my house, decluttering my house. I didn't really think I would be decluttering my house when I first started. I knew I had to get rid of a few things, and before I started, I actually filled a whole dumpster full of things. Now we ordered this dumpster because we had like a mattress and a couple of very large things, but we took advantage of that to get rid of a lot of things in the house. And that's before I started the other decluttering that you guys are watching on my channel right now. And I didn't think I was going to declutter, but I started decluttering and I was like, I don't need to read any of those books. And I decided, hmm, yes, I do. I think I need to read some books because everybody's telling me about people like Marie Kondo, Dana K. White, and then uh, The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning, which is Margareta Magnusson. Yeah. So I decided, what are these books? And I started looking it up. And this really ended up tying into the history that I specialize in, which is actually women's history. Um, and my very specific specialization is was was midwives, midwifery, um, and seeing what women's authority, I guess you would say, in medicine, in their families, in the domestic sphere, and childbirth, what that was like. Because we think of midwives only as maybe someone who helps people give birth, women give birth, um, but they are also someone that helped their families. Every cookbook had like recipes at the end for things to help, cures for different ailments. Everybody had different ideas about what that might be. And I found that really fascinating and how that changed in the mid 19th century and how, in my particular uh, focus, religion was all wrapped up with the midwives. So that was my focus. I interned for a woman just during school, academic, um, named Kate Holbrook, who is also a women's historian in religion, and her focus was on food. And so I helped her a little bit with that, which was really interesting to study food in that domestic sphere. So I already came in a little bit primed to even want to study not just decluttering for my own self, but also um, in a scholarly way. I've been reading all these 3 books. They've helped me. They've given me so much input that helps. And now I am, you know, I decided to, I'm putting them all together. And what does this mean? So I went and did some research on the oldest decluttering book, and it's not so far. And my shallow research has shown that it's not that old, a whole book. It is actually Don Aslet's, ah, what's his decluttering book name? From the late 20th century, from the 90s. So that's not very long ago that we've been thinking about this decluttering thing. And I think that's because of the difference in our culture now, starting with consumerism. You know, buying so many things. It's so easy to make them now, so easy to buy them now. And suddenly our culture is going like, wait a minute, we have too much. And yeah, that was the earliest one. And I'll talk about that more later. Um, but I have read the Marie Kondo book, and that was the first one I read. What books have you guys been reading? If you want to tell me in there, like, what is your favorite book on decluttering? I'd love to know what's helped you out. Also, besides books, there are so many great channels out there. Dana, who wrote um, Decluttering at the Speed of Light, has a great channel that I go and see every once in a while. And there's Clutterbug, and there's the Minimal Mom. Those guys are all great. I've been enjoying those. And then people who are showing their personal journeys, like I am, like A Hoarder's Heart. So those have all been interesting. But the Marie Kondo book was like, do it all at once. The minute I read that, I'm like, no. And even when I knew that she actually meant it might take 6 months, it might take, like, I thought a year, and now I think it will take longer, I was still like, no. Because after that, we still buy more things, don't we? And mail comes into the house. And all these things, I'm like, there's no possible way it can be one and done. It has to be a constant, lifelong process to be managing all of these different things that bring clutter into the house. And so Dana K. White, she says this, of course, this is a lifelong process. And it might not just be new things we end up having to declutter, but as we gain our decluttering muscles, we might say, oh, yeah, yeah, I don't need that. I thought I needed that. I don't need that. And I have become a lot less afraid of declutter regret, because now I'm asking myself with a lot of these things, if I found out that I needed this and I don't have it, could I, like, just, is it easy for me to get? And yes, you know, one of my earliest videos, I was looking for a very specific size of screws to put up actually these shelves back there. I built them, and I looked all over. I couldn't find them. I'm like, okay, I'm going to my stash, which is, the local hardware store, the local nationwide hardware store. And yeah, I could just hop in the car and go get exactly what I need very easily, which is such a great advantage of our modern times. And that showed me that I don't need to be afraid of not having everything I might need to do something at my fingertips, you know? Um, so yeah, an exception to this are old towels. Because there was a little bit of some comments when we were talking about my linen closet about the old towels. And I talked about, my clogged up toilet. And I'm like, no, those I do want to have on hand somewhere where I have an emergency stash of old towels, but I'm also my newer towels, I can downgrade them a little faster maybe, right? And maybe have fewer towels that I consider the good towels. So I learned that, and Dana something Marie Kondo is also very focused. So this is a difference, I guess, between Dana K. White, um, talking about what we need and what helps us, and Marie Kondo talking about what sparks joy, right? And so if we hold something in our hand, like my drink thing, and we hold it and we say, this sparks joy, it lifts me. This drink cup doesn't. It's very practical, and I'm very glad to have it, but I don't think it sparks joy. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what that is. But Dana's like, do I need it? Uh, would I know where it is if I thought about it? And I'm like, yeah. And there's definitely, I'm not sure. It kind of has a home, but it never ends up in its home because it's always following me around. So yeah, does it spark joy or do I need it are two other things. And Condo's focus is so much on the items that are in our house. And even though she understands that we need to get rid of a lot of items, um, she doesn't really, I didn't really see in it enough a good concept of the spaces that we are living in. And that is what Dana K. White talks about, which is the container concept, which I love. In short, if you don't know about K. White's container concept, obviously go to her channel, hear it from her. But just in summary, she has kind of a way of looking at it like, what if you have a lot of scarves? And these scarves are beautiful, but you have like 100 of them, and your wall where you can hang them can only carry like 10 of them. No matter what kind of hooks or what kind of special things to organize, you only have space for 10 scarves on your wall. And so you need to go in and get rid of 90 of the scarves that you have, because the rest of those scarves that can't be held in the container that is your wall, and your house is a container, they're just going to be cluttering up your house. They're going to be in places where they don't belong, clogging up your way of getting to what you need to get to, right? So you need to get rid of 90. And obviously scarves are not necessarily necessary. And I think that's one reason why she uses that, except maybe winter scarves here in the very cold places. But so some of these are going to spark joy, but maybe 50 of those scarves spark joy, don't they? You look at them and you're like, so I love it. That's why I got it. I love it. Um, but you can only have 10 of them. So Dana's response to that is, what are my 10 favorite scarves? And you know what? That's all we even need. We don't need really more than that. So, what are our favorites? And then the rest don't get a place in that container anymore. I thought that was such a good way of looking things. We have our things, our items, we have our containers, and the items go in the containers. How much can we fit in that container? Not just how much do we need, but how much can we fit in that? That really connected with me a lot. And then the methodology that they both talk about, Marie Kondo, is like put it on the bed and do it all at once. And I think a lot of us know that that is a long project. That was my first closet decluttering. I did that. If you want to go look at that video, and my whole bed was like piled high of things. And that took me three days to get through that. Um, and you can ask Vladimir, like, what chaos was in my room because we did that, and I had to put on in my bed, and then we had to go to sleep, and I had to try to wrangle everything, and it was a lot of extra work, I think. Whereas Dana K. White, um, I think there's a place for it. I did that with my dresser in my very most recent video, and that worked out really well, but there were not as many things, and it was not about category, it was about a container. Dana K. White has her no mess method, which is what I'm using right now under my bed, and I love it, the no mess method. Also, I use it in any hot spots, any surfaces that tend to be like collecting things, which they do. Uh, so I have kept my dresser top clean ever since I decluttered it the way that Dana K. White told me to declutter it, because she also says we go through and do everything we already did. We do that first before we hit the next thing that we have to dive deep into. I really like that too, a lot. I think that's super helpful. I really love that there are different people approaching it from their different life experiences because, excuse me, it gives us like a lot of resources. I can use these tools wherever they fit the best. I'm going to be decluttering my closet again. I'm hoping to start it this afternoon. I wanted to start it yesterday, but I think it will be this afternoon. Um, just not just like 4 months after I did it. I knew I'd have to do this, but I didn't realize that I would start shoving things back in my closet again, which I did. But it's not as dense or deep or horrible as it was before, so I don't expect that to take very long. And I had gotten rid of half of my clothes, and you guys have seen the videos. I have a whole rod full of hangers that I just haven't gotten taken out of, and I'm gonna be, like, plain honest, I wanna do that on camera. That's why I haven't done it yet. Hello? Ah, dear, dear. I don't It's good to see you. I'm glad to see you're here. Thank you so much for your encouragement. Uh, yeah, it's it's a process. And any this is the other thing I like about Dana Kue. Let's see if I finished off that thought. Uh, Closet, big mess, like the Kondo style versus the Dana K. White style, which is the no mess method. Um, so this is the other thing I like about her is that any progress is good. Progress is progress, and I think that can be one of the hardest things for us because when we have families and work and our whole life, it can be really hard to overcome some of the things that just taking care of our house. Even if we're not prone to like bad clutter messes, just the daily task of taking care of our house. If we prioritize our kids and our work, which I think we should over our house because our kids um, have emotional needs and our house doesn't, right? So if we and our work has both, income and responsibilities and people that are counting on you, and our house has no feelings. It has to function for us. This is true. But, you know, um, we don't prioritize our house work necessarily at the very top, which I think is where it should be. It should not be at the top. It Our kids should always take a higher priority than that, than things looking neat. But when we do that, things can pile up, and then we'll have a space where we can work on it, and we're like, I can't get this all done right now, and we feel bad about ourselves, and I don't we need to understand why we've put the priorities where we have. Maybe there were some things we did that housework should have been a higher priority, but we that's okay. We're always learning, and sometimes we need to de-stress and defrag, and sometimes we wake up and say, "Oh, I need to get this done." And that's okay, that's good. Uh, so when you notice something that needs to be done, we should never beat ourselves up about it because we're doing the first step. We're seeing something that needs to be done and we're working towards doing it. But we can't always get it done all at once. Even if I weren't waiting on those hangers for the camera, um, I have 20 other things in my house that are more important right now than the hangers. Uh, and that's not procrastination, that's just prioritizing. And we can't do it all at once. We really, really can't. And most of us cannot afford to have anyone come in and help us. And sometimes there are angels that come in and help us, but it's not always going to happen, right? Uh, let's see. Oh, thank you that you're excited about my progress. Um, that would be awesome. Actually, a clutter buddies, that would be great. Um, Hi, Marie. That's okay. You just start when they start, and there's, I'm the only one that has to worry about being on time. Our health. You know what? I'm glad you brought up health. Um, and I wonder if it's Granny D, if GRD stands for that. Um, we're always learning. Uh, Sometimes it feels like it's too late because you're sitting in a space and it's not the way you want it to be right now, but it's just like that thing with the tree. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time to plant a tree is now. It's okay, and even if we're a little bit older, we're still gonna be in a learning process in our mind that is going to help us. There's a lot to learn no matter what age we're at. Um, in helping to take care of our homes. And it's not just about what it looks like, it's about helping our own mental health. And I don't think there's any such thing as too late. It might feel like it, but we had a life, didn't we? And we had all the things we had to do. And everything's a learning process. I've had paid and non-paid. Yeah, it's not I mean, sometimes when you get someone in that's paid, it's, they do this whole thing, and when we haven't invested our I'm finding this as I am investing my mental, energy into doing this, I'm learning a lot about how all the stuff around me affects me. I'm learning a lot about why I don't need this, and I think if I had done that dream I'd had one time of paying someone to just come in and take care of it all, I would have reverted. Marie Kondo thinks that the reason why there would be no reversion is because it will look all beautiful right then. And I can tell you, I've been in places that look beautiful and thought, I wish my home were like that. And I come home and it didn't, and I have cleaned my house super great before, or my bathroom or a spot, and it always reverts. And it's only this time when I'm not thinking of it as this one and done thing. I'm thinking of it as a process, like that always has to be done. And it's okay that it's a never done thing. Our breathing is never done. Our waking and sleeping is never completed. It's a cycle. And it's the same with our house. And we might think, the monotony of it all, but there's so much to learn from it. Um, yeah, and that's why I like Dana's attitude toward that. Um, yeah, it is never too late. Um, oh, here's a point, Vladimir. When she decided to record all as is, oh yeah, Vladimir was freaking out. I recorded it when he was at work, and I told him, and I'm like, "Is that okay?" He's like, "Oh my goodness." And he gave me permission to record the house. So he is also a very, very brave soul. Um, yes. He is and he keeps on telling me, "Wow, this looks so good. Thank you." Vladimir's saying that a lot, which which is good because the maintenance of it sometimes does feel a little bit boring, but listen to a book or a podcast or a YouTube channel while you're cleaning, and that will be like, yay, give us some motivation to do that. Oh, you know, the daily habits are very important. Um, I'm glad that that explanation um, has helped. Um, I'm glad that by reading other people's books, being more thoughtful about what it was actually doing in my head. Um, I'm uh, I'm not a hoarder, which I'm not saying, oh, hoarding was bad. I'm just saying the way my brain, I don't necessarily have to hold on to things. I am an ADHD clutter blind type of person. Like I put it down and I can forget about it, right? And uh, and then become clutter blind to everything that's messing up. But what I found is that even though my brain can filter out the clutter, it's still doing that energy of filtering out the clutter. And there's so much visual noise around me that it's harder for my brain to be at peace. So there's always a little bit of extra stress. And the noise also, even if I'm not thinking directly about it, is whispering, I need to get done. This needs to get fixed. And so that's just a little bit of noise. But I've been thinking about this because I've been reading the books to help me go through the process. I thought about it before, but the books have really helped me think about um, why this is happening, why I'm working or not working in this way. I really want to help everybody else um, who happens upon my channel. I just, when I picked up that camera and thought, I've got to show this, I'm like, this is the real deal. And I want it to be the real deal because, there's a lot of people I know either also who are having the same challenges and struggles. And I had learned one thing before I picked up that camera, and that was the daily habits that are so important. And that was in my bathroom, which I showed in my last video. I pointed out the area where I had my little epiphany. And it's such a simple thing, um, but I was so capable of doing a thing and then running off to the next thing. It's not that I uh, was lazy. I just had too much to do, and my brain was already ahead of me before was done with the task I was doing, and so I was not putting away the things because I got myself ready, and then I left to do the next thing, and I'm like, no, I put my things away, and then I go on. That was an epiphany for me. A lot of people just naturally do this really, really well, and a lot of us don't. Um, True crime. I like true crime too. Um, it's like any stories kind of, just make life more interesting. Trying different experts' ways and finding what works for us is so helpful, Marie. Yes, you're right. That is so helpful. And Mary Beth, oh yeah. Oh, I'm glad that you've learned from my channel. I'm in my mid 50s, actually. Um, and so we all have different things we can teach each other, but I'm glad that what I've learned has helped out. That little this journey years ago and pretty much let things go after that. It's nowhere near where it was, but oh, I'm glad. We all we all need those little reminders, and I think that when we're at the right time in our life, the reminders, the little helps come into our lives. I really believe that that happens for us. Um, the next book that I read, I'm going to go on to that. Um, it's for those of us who are in our later years, and that's The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. And one of the criticisms against that book is that it's not a very method-oriented book, and it's not. That's not its point, though. It's not a very big book, and I wish I could show you the books, but I've been reading them all on my Kindle, um, or my iPad. But it's not a long book, but it's kinda like chatting with one of those, smart friends that has had a lot of life experience, and she knows things, and but she has a lot of stories while she's telling you about these things, and she tells us that we need to think about who's coming after us, and we all know that death cleaning, it sounds some people have said it sounds like a heavy metal band. So, it's like, wow. Uh, and that it might be off-putting to some people. I'm not afraid of thinking about that, but it gives us a really great perspective on who is going to have to take care of our things afterwards. Excuse me. And, you know, all of us, I think, have had that experience with helping clean out a relative's house or a loved one's house. Um, and what we had to go through. And that's at the time right after they died. So it can be hard. It can be a burden. She talks about that it's not just about whether your loved ones will want your stuff, but at what point in their lives are they going to be going through your stuff? And that's while they are grieving, which is a super important thing to think about. But besides thinking about others having to deal with our stuff, she also says, as we let go of things, our life becomes more simple. And I think that's what I was talking about, having the visual noise around us versus having things a little cleaner. And then there's also having the um, I need to handle this thing noise around us. I need to take care of this thing noise around us. And whether or not that also adds extra steps in our lives that we don't have to take. So if we can get rid of things, not only will it help other people, but it's going to make our life right now easier, funner, simpler. Gin and Tonic says, you have made spaces clutter free the way I dream of. I have read and own more books on decluttering and organization and cleaning, but I can't seem to do my own stuff. And Mary Beth, let me get to that, and then I'll talk about, yeah, I'll talk about I've said that we don't want to, Mary Beth said, don't wanna do that to our kids, and even people who keep things pretty clean, uh, sometimes you go into they have a lot of things, um, it's so many feelings, and I think, at when we're in our middle age or older age, people in our lives have passed on. I think we've all had those experiences. Uh, so, um, I think we need to start small, and keep that small little area clean. Keep that win in your life. And think, if you weren't able to do it that one time, ask yourself, what was stopping me from being able to keep that area clean? Um, and so, how we have to think about how our brain works, other struggles we might be having. Sometimes we might need you know, professional help, not just to declutter our homes, but sometimes an outside perspective of someone helping us mentally process how our brain is working, that can help us understand, like, oh, if I just think about it this way, in a slightly different way, now that unlocks um, all the things that were stopping me from being able to keep that space clear. There can be so many things going on, and one of the other things is our health. Um, and um, Health problems come up, um, and they can really stop us from doing some things. Maybe they're acute, and a mess piles up because we had, you know, a prolonged but not chronic illness, um, or injury, or maybe they are prolonged. Um, and so sometimes we do need to see if we can have others around us help us with those kinds of things if we have health problems. Um, yeah, ADHD blindness. It can't. Yeah. All right. Midwest Magic Cleaning has a video about why it might be easier to clean other people's places. Let me read this out. Gin and tonic. I decluttered with Dana's method for my elderly parents, but my own home. Um, you know, Theirs had been doable because it wasn't mine, and mine I get poleaxed, right? And Midwest Magic Cleaning has a really great video about this, and I'm trying to see if I can, think about giving a gift to yourself. A lot of times when we are doing this for other people, we are serving them and giving a gift to them. And when we have the time to help our own selves, um, we need to value our own selves. And I always like to say, I'm giving a gift to future Amy. If I do this now, if I clean up the dishes tonight, tomorrow Amy doesn't have to deal with it. And my day will be easier tomorrow. And it doesn't, it takes 15 minutes for me to finish this task now at the end of my day, and then I get to go and rest. Whereas tomorrow, if I have to do it for 15 minutes, I'm going to be really stressed out because I have other things to do, right? So I think a good way is to think of it as self-care, as a gift to yourself. I hope that helps. I'm I'm glad to do that. I'm glad to help out in wherever I can. So yeah, Swedish death cleaning was very good. I really liked that attitude. If you haven't read it, go check it out from the library or something. It's also a fun book. And Dana Key White and Margarita Magnusson, Swedish Death Cleaning, both have a sense of humor, and they're different sense of senses of humor. And I think that helps us out a lot too, right? Just we have to laugh at it sometimes, you know. And uh, so I think I think those books are helpful. So I decided, um, after reading her book and reading a couple other books, I'm going to take a slightly different focus, and I decided to focus on the mental side of things, which is going to include the spiritual side of things. Uh, and what's the name of it? I'll tell you later on what the name of the one book that I'm going to read is. But I'm going to read that book in conjunction with Dana's Jesus Doesn't Care About Your Messy House. He cares about your heart. And for those of you who might not be of a religious bent, or that religion, or any religion at all, I'll try to interpret that for it so it can be helpful to you as well. And another one is more, oh, wait, it's like Keeping House While Drowning. I forget the name of the author, though. That's the other one. Book I'll be reading in the three books I'm going to tackle. And then the other book that I think will go with this set of books is going to be Atomic Habits. Um, and so, yeah, I'll be talking a little bit more about the mental part of it rather than the physical, like methodology part of it next as I learn. I've been thinking about making these live streams something more of a book club. Every Friday I'll talk about the book I've read or the half of the book that I've read over the last week, and maybe you guys can read it with me and we can talk about it together. Um, so as I've been thinking about what to do with my channel, that's one thing. Okay, let's do that. Um, and so, yeah, those are the books, and those are the books that are coming up. I'm going to be decluttering my closet this afternoon, and then all the rest of the things that everybody voted on. And I'm working on my bed slowly under my bed. My mom had a very huge deciding vote, and that's why I decided to do this. She's like, "Your allergies, hun. You should do under your bed right now." And I'm like, "You're right, Mom. Why have I not done that yet?" So, so yeah, I'm just doing it slow by slow, even for that reason too. Um, yeah. So it's gonna be after my closet. I'll do the linen closet and the upstairs landing, and then my pantry room. Like so many plans are happening, and I might be able to actually get the counter and the cabinet I want in a couple weeks. I'm crossing my fingers to get it set up like not in this is the temporary way, but in like this is the setup that I really want to happen. Um, and yeah, that's what's coming up. Yes, and thank you for reminding me about that. I do need to call the animal shelter for the linens, and I do have more towels than I need even for my little emergency stash. So I think and I have a set of smaller towels that we got that are not big enough for the big towels, too small for the hand towels, and we're not using them at all. So I'm like, that would be a great stack to be able to donate. Hi, Crystal. It's good to see you. You're welcome. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming and celebrating with me my what was it before just before I started it was 996 subscribers. I didn't quite get it to 1,000. I thought I would because of the momentum, but it slowed down, which that's just the way it is. I'm not worried about that at all, but it was kind of funny. Um, let's see. And yeah, if you guys just want to tell me anything you might want to hear more about, just think about that. I'll put up a post in, the community tab. I think I'll put up a post, and you guys can just say, "Hey, let's talk about this next week." But the book, this is the book I am reading right now, so this is the book that we will talk about next week. And I'll also have a link to that in the description of this stream, which I think I can do. And in one of my community posts, I'll put a link to that book. I just did the dinner dishes. Oh, yay! I'm glad. I'm glad I made doing your dishes a little bit easier because I don't like to do dishes very much. I'm getting better at liking to do dishes, which I've learned you can start to like things that you think were not very fun to do. Um, but I'm glad that I helped make that a little bit better for you. I'm glad you made my life too. I'm really glad to meet all of you guys in like real time. Like this is cool. This is fun. And I'm excited to do it again next week. I think I'll be on Fridays at 11 o'clock, but I might end up being on Thursdays. Even if you guys say there's a better day for you, if I get, if anybody, I have some flexibilities there. Well, I hope all of you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week, and take care of yourselves. Be kind to yourselves and go conquer your mess.